Does that make sense?
You're listening to me.
No, anybody, anytime. I wouldn't ask you, you're just getting old. It's always fun teasing people. But we get the idea, right? If it's located here, it could be any of those. We have longissimus and we have spinalis here. So longissimus thoracis, spinalis thoracis. We come here, we still have spine and the long one, right? So spinalis cervicis, spinalis, yeah, or longissimus, right? It's not so bad, right? That's why we have all of those. In addition, more muscles on the back. You can sit up, you can play there. You can face this wall, I guess. And I'll because I know it's not comfortable. Okay, so we've talked about these muscles, right? What if I tell you there's another muscle right here? And it's kind of at a weird angle.
Say the quad.
Serratus. Just like we had a serratus anterior here, we have a serratus inferior, posterior inferior. That's literally what we call it. Why? Because posterior is down here. Yeah, and there is a serratus superior, or posterior superior, superior posterior, whatever you want to call it. Every book you read will have a different name, so I'm like, it doesn't matter. As long as you can tell me where it is, I'm happy. Is that an important muscle? No, not whatsoever. Have you really heard about it before this class? No. So yeah, forget about it. Right? Just know that it's there. It might get tight. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, in the low back, we've talked about the erector spinae. We've talked about the serratus posterior. What other muscles can we see in the back?
The quadratus lumborum.
The quad lumborum is an interesting one. Why am I saying it's interesting? It's probably not in my head, but why do you think I'm saying it's interesting?
Because it's shaped like a square? I don't know.
Not only that, most people say the quad lumborum, the QL, is a back muscle. That is incorrect. The quad lumborum is an abdominal muscle. That's why I didn't mention it. It is the deepest abdominal muscle, and it's actually located retroperitoneum. What does that term mean? Behind, retro, I like it. Peritoneum is your gut. So it's located behind all of your gut. So your main abdominal muscles are all on top, right? And then you have a nice big old space that keeps and houses your guts, your intestines, a little bit of your gallbladder superiorly, and all that kind of good stuff. If I rip all of those things out, I'm kind of seeing the front of the back, right? And that is where you're going to see that QL. And that's what everybody's going to refer to as the QL, the quadratus lumborum. Because it's just a weird name, people keep forgetting quad lumborum. So I'll come back to that when we talk about the abdominal muscles. Anything else in the back? You guys are missing a really big one, and it kind of goes up to the arm. Yes, the latissimus dorsi. Super, super important, right? Because that's the big thing that covers most of the back. Aside from the erector spinae and some of the smaller, tiny muscles in there, all you really have is the lats. That's your whole back. So superiorly to deep. And we're going to rip all these out. We have our traps, upper, middle, and lower, right? Let's rip that off. Down here, we're going to now also see the latissimus dorsi coming all the way up. The latissimus dorsi starts at the thoracodorsal or thoracolumbar fascia, goes all the way up into my arm, that bicipital or intertubercular groove. If we look at the traps again, your external occipital protuberance to lateral third of the clavicle, acromion, lateral third of the spine of the scapula. Middle traps, you're getting into about, since it's middle, do you remember the landmarks of our scapula? Not just the medial and lateral border. The top of the scapula is aligned
Spine
with
of the
what?
scapula? I mean,
The top of the scapula is aligned with what level? T7.
7. Oh.
Right? And then the lower aspect of the scapula, or the inferior angle, is aligned with T7.
Oh,
So
backward.
we know the scapula between T2 and T7.
T7.
There's your middle traps right there. I don't have to memorize it, do I? If I know that's where it is. And we know that you said T12 because that's where your thoracic goes to. So T10, T12 is going to be where the lower lats are going to be. Does that make sense? So it's kind of covering your whole cervical and thoracic will be your whole trapezius muscles. Right? Again, no need to memorize from a book. Visualize it and you'll be able to tell me what it is. Your lats, thoracodorsal or thoracolumbar fascia, in most books, in books that are saying that muscles can't originate with fascia, they go to bone. What bone do we have right here?
The crest.
Iliac crest. So some books will say iliac crest to intertubercular group. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. Other muscles, erector spinae. We talked about the I Love Superman muscles, so iliocostalis, ilio or iliac, costal ribs. Longissimus. These are going to be transverse processes to transverse processes, all the way up to transverse process. And the spinalis are going to go from spinous process to spinous process. Not so bad, right? We didn't have to memorize any of this. Now, if we rip all of those out, so I've ripped off the traps and I've taken out the lats, now I can see the serratus right here. Let's take that out as well. Here are your erector spinae. I've taken out those as well. What's deep to those? Yes, we have the deep muscles, the multifidi. What else do we have?
The
The rotators, which we call the rotatories muscles. Okay, what else do we have? Intertransversarii muscles, right? I know it sounds like I'm getting too highly specific, but let's make it really easy, make you think. Rotatories, what do you think they're going to do?
rotate.
They're going to rotate. Do you think they're going to be straight or angular?
Angler.
Angular, because anything at an angle can rotate. If it's straight, it's not going to do anything, right? So what two bony landmarks right on the spine are at an angle to each other?
The spinous
Okay, we have a transverse
process.
process and we have a spinous process. So these are going to go from one transverse process above to an inferior spinous process. So that's why they're going to be at a weird angle. That wasn't so bad, right? You can have the long one or the short ones for rotatory. So the short ones are going to go from one level, and the long ones are going to go maybe 2 or 3 levels. Not so bad, right? Now, I mentioned another muscle, the intertransversarii. Inter means what? Between. Transverse, that refers to the transverse process. So if it's between transverse processes, what do you think that muscle is going to do? Not rotate because it's straight.
Extend.
Extend, it can help with extension, but look at what he's doing right now.
Oh, lateral bending.
Lateral trunk bending or side bending, right? That's what it's going to do because it's right on the side, right? It has to pull from the side. So we just did the rotatories and the intertransversarii. And then you guys also mentioned the multifidi. And multifidi can cross multiple levels. If it's at spinous processes to transverse processes, they can help with a little bit of rotation and extension. And because they're large, they're the muscles that can get affected more than the others. So that's why you're going to hear more about, oh, you have a multifidi problem, more than you're going to have an intertransversarii. Have you ever heard that before? No. That'd be crazy talk. But does that mean you can't hurt your intertransversarii? Of course not. You can hurt it. But is there a way to actually manually muscle test all those muscles? Of course not. So that's why you're like, oh, you have a low back issue. or an upper back issue, and we leave it as is. Does that make sense? That's everything on the back. And I'm not going over the scapula again. I know the scapula's on the back, but